Hi, Sophia.
Hi, I'm just
Hi.
getting set up.
How are you?
I'm good. I just got out of school. Thanks so much for having me.
Yeah, no problem. Yeah, we can just get started. Basically, how it's gonna go is we're just gonna talk about um, kind of youth against sexual violence and your own kind of past of being an activist and stuff like that. So I guess we can just get started. My name is Chris, by the way. I'm a board member of the Youth Activism Project, and I sometimes do these Activated Thursdays. So, just as an intro, if you just want to introduce yourself, your name, your what you do at school, and like kind of what Youth Against Sexual Violence is.
Yeah, so my name is Sophia Arnold. I'm a junior and I'm from Washington State. I was originally from around the Los Angeles area in California. I moved up here when I was about 13, so seventh or Sexual Violence is now a national nonprofit that solely works on policy and kind of education change and a bit of fundraising to combat sexual violence. We try to take a two-pronged approach, which is both making sure that the justice system is actively supporting survivors and trying to increase and make it like raise awareness and make sure that like if survivors want to take a legal route with like the legal punishment system that they have that option, the process is easier for them, as well as educational awareness for the issue. We really advocate for consent education and reproductive rights education as
Mhm.
well as sex education as that's statistically shown to lower sexual assault.
Yeah, yeah, that's really awesome. And you have like supporters all across the nation. You have a bunch of members and stuff. So it's a really big organization. So I guess how what I wonder is how did you kind of start it up? What work did you begin to do? Did you have any help? What was your motivation, your passion, stuff like that?
Yeah, so it was kind of a long process. I got involved around freshman year, going to sophomore year. There was a really large issue with my school sweeping rape under the rug at my own high school. I come from a school that is ranked statewide and nationally for athletics, and athletic culture and rape culture often tie together. And we had gotten a new principal, a couple who really took efforts to stop survivors' voices from being this. And so I joined my school's leadership team and targeted through assemblies or education and advocating for that at my school. And my principal told me that under no certain would my school ever be working with me on this or, targeting sexual harassment or
Wow.
sexual, and that if they were several years into the future because they were very busy at the time. This was about 2018, 2019.
Hmm.
And I tried to make kind of a to try and advocate for this at a district level. So from my school and our rival school in the district, and that didn't work out either. It went pretty poorly. There wasn't a lot of interest. We once again got shot down by my school's administration.
Right.
I do debate, which is kind of a national, club for high school students, and I reached out to a couple of friends through speech and debate around my state and country. So primarily like Georgia, California, and Washington. And I said, would you guys form kind of an organization or a group to kind of get a hang on this? And this was about the winter of 2019. So,
Hmm.
and that's kind of how we started like forming as an decided that we wanted to be seen as an organization and it. We set up a department structure and a campaign structure and started.
Yeah, that's really good. It's just the kind of your persistence and like even after you get shut down, and just spreading out to more people. That's really what you have to do to like get support and stuff. Um, so what was kind of the first thing that you started doing with this organization? Was it local in your school, or was it with those other states that you were working with? What was the deal?
We actually, our first real campaign was we ran a publicity campaign with Tara Reid. We
Mm.
reached out to Reid and asked if, she would like our help or if we could work on a partnership with her. And we sent press releases and to almost every major media for them to stop suppressing her story. We put a count on our website of how many days about CNN covering her story and her accusations against Joe Biden,
Yeah.
as well as organizing phone zaps against the University of Delaware.
Yeah, so with the election like happening and kind of just the whole political climate being kind of like in turmoil and stuff, did you like how did this campaign relate to the election or relate to or affect anything in the election? What was kind of your goal as well?
We all of us stood by that it was a partisan effort, despite it, tackling one candidate. It was more about the fact that every survivor should be heard,
Right, right.
and really reflective of the fact that we were prioritizing, like, as a country, prioritizing politics over a survivor's voice needing to be heard.
Mm-hmm.
Tara Reid herself said that even she would be voting for Joe Biden, but that
Right.
people knew who they were voting for and not go into it blindly. We were accused on social media of being a far right, like alt-right group, as well as Russian hackers. Actually went through a pretty bad situation when Tara Reid and Katie Halper started tweeting about our campaign with Tara Reid, because like grown adults started, attacking us and doxing
Yeah,
us,
wow.
accusing us of trying to discredit Joe Biden as a candidate, even though we said multiple times we are not saying whether or not these allegations are true. We are saying that her voice needs to be heard.
Right. Yeah, and I think that's important to just keep in mind that you just need to hold these people accountable and just make sure, like you said, make sure people know the story and stuff. So something that you do kind of relating to that is you share survivor stories or you do something like that. Can you talk about that a little?
Yeah, we try to keep up with it. It was definitely we have a journalism department massive and handle both our newsletter and our survivor stories. We have an option on our website and we post pretty regularly on our Instagram story as well about how any survivor can completely anonymously share their story,
Mm-hmm.
and it'll be published on the site, whether that's for them wanting their voice to be heard, kind of a therapeutic message for them to be able to share their story without any
Yeah,
criticism back, because a lot of times people feel like it's okay for them to critique or attack or question a survivor after they share their story, because
yeah,
they're on how trauma can affect someone. And I think currently the stories have reached about 2,000 people, which our journalism team is proud of.
yeah. That's really good. Yeah, I think that's a great. It's just a great platform and resource, like you said, that people can just go to and talk about things, their stories and stuff, because they can't really talk to anyone else. So yeah, I think that's a great aspect of your group. Um, so another thing that you do, you mentioned it earlier, was kind of your education reform. Do you want to talk a little bit about that and then kind of how that started up, what you did, how it's going, stuff like that?
Yeah, absolutely. So one of our biggest initiatives is our education reform. We partnered with One Love, which is a they are a nonprofit that works on unhealthy relationships in youth and how coercive behavior, unhealthy relationships can be used, which really ties into what our workshops we're doing. So we kind of take a two-pronged approach with our education work. Obviously, having education in schools about consent and sexual assault isn't going to get very far if the administration and the school culture isn't changing as well.
Right.
This is ran by our PR director, Chloe. She's a teen ambassador for One Love, and so she does great work there. But we reach out, it kind of works as in we reach out to school districts and school boards and ask for them to meet with us, and we present saying that we want to take up for a 3-day educator, administrator, and counselor in that school for a 2-day entirely free inclusive training on both unhealthy relationships, coercive behavior, sexual assault, consent, and why and how they can properly facilitators of these conversations. Like if a student comes, what you have to say to that student, like obvious, the privacy but not that schools are held to, and then we work with them after their administration and educators are trained on that, because what I see a lot of is once the administration is trained, their attitude towards sexual assault changes once they realize what a huge issue it is and how many people it affects in that school or that district. Then we want to start working on a new curriculum with that school that fits
Right.
their they have some say in it, but it's about unhealthy relationships and consent and sex ed a lot that every student from 12 in that school should be going through, and they can either or work it into their health curriculum or their
Yeah.
advisories or assemblies, as well as setting up safe spaces in that school for survivors, so that if a survivor is bored in that school and reporting that what something happened to them, not in a harsh environment that's going to impact them negatively as well. And then we revise their sexual assault policies and harassment and making sure that they're Title IX to the best of their ability and their funding.
Yeah, that's really good. Starting in schools, I think it like you mentioned earlier, rape culture is pretty prevalent in schools, especially within athletics and stuff. Um, so I remember in my high school, I went to high school in Silver Spring, Maryland, and through our Minority Scholars Program, we actually did a kind of like a town hall where we would invite people to come, and we talked about rape culture as well. Just because I think it's so prevalent in schools, and it has to do with toxic masculinity a lot as well. Um, so yeah, I think it's great that you guys are like working it into the actual curriculum and like working with actual like faculty members and stuff like that.
Thank you.
So yeah, I wonder if you guys done anything with what's been your work towards kind of changing the school culture aside from academics like classes and assemblies and stuff?
Mhm. Um, I think so. It's across several states.
Yeah.
I'm not as up to date on our initiatives as I would like to be because
Hmm.
all the initiatives
Yeah, so many people.
tell us more. In Nevada, their workshops are optional, but each teacher is offering like extra credit if the students opt into the workshops. And I know that they're doing work with putting up posters so that even if they aren't attending the workshops, they're seeing a lot of information
Yeah.
on the place. I'm blanking on the name of the school, but it is the largest high school district in the Las Vegas area in Nevada. And I think they're already getting like feedback. The teachers and the students are really enjoying it. And the amount of students who are reporting sexual harassment, sexual assault to the school has risen. Which, apart from making survivors feel more safe on campus, is also our end goal, so that
Yeah.
survivors report what happened to them, which is great to see. And in Minnesota, I want to say Minnesota,
Hmm.
the branch, they actually couldn't get schools on board with the workshop because they go to a lot of Catholic schools. But what they did
Okay.
get survivor support groups and anonymous tip boxes. So kind of what we have in online with our survivor stories,
Right.
they form of a tip box on campus so that anyone can share their story or share an anonymous tip with the administration can do so, and it'll be investigated. And I think they have a One Love administrator overlooking that, which is really great to see as well.
Yeah, that's really great. Just the flexibility of it all, I think, and kind of adapting to the needs of different states and stuff. That's very important. Um, so something that you mentioned to me earlier as well, um, and something that I've also been thinking about is kind of the overlap between sexual violence and then LGBTQ rights and police reform and stuff. Do you want to talk a bit about each of those and how it overlaps and what you guys have been doing?
Yeah, absolutely. Start with my own work in Washington State
Hmm.
because that's what I'm going to be most familiar with.
Right.
Our favorite bills that we're introducing in the legislative session of 2021 is our police reform bill in Washington State. It's going to be completely remodified, revamping how police in Washington State deal with sexual assault and sexual violence. It's going to be creating task forces to deal. It's going to be including in the investigative process. It's going to be prosecutors as well and detectives to make sure that there's already a robust education in Washington State, but
Yeah.
the ability and the funding for it. They
Mhm.
passed a law in 2018 that the training would be available and mandatory, but the issue is for police departments to get out of it. So only one police department in county has been receiving this training.
Okay. Yeah.
We're making it also an online version where there's a test at the end of it, where they test on the curriculum they learn over the 3-day online training. So every police officer, detective, prosecutor in Washington State is going to go kind of under through this. And I know it's being drafted right now, so I can't do certainly on, but I know that our friends over at Legal Voice in on the Seattle side, because it's a large group effort from a lot of advocates,
Right.
have been working on how this can be a new angle roped into the bill to help racial groups, Indigenous women who are disproportionately affected by sexual violence.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, that's really important work. Um, and it's happening not just in Washington State, but like all across the country. Yeah. Um, so you talk a lot about just working as a group and stuff like that, which I would assume um could have its problems and complications, especially with like everything being online, people being burnt out and stuff like that. So what's your experience with that, and how do you kind of overcome that along with your like schoolwork and like life, like actual life and stuff like that? Like how do you navigate that?
Yeah, so unfortunately, we are all, what I find is that most people in YASV are really high achieving high school students, which I wholly support and I love, and it's great to see homework collaboration going on a lot,
Yeah.
the off topic chats. It has been pretty stressful over the past year. There is kind of a pressure on me, like just from myself, in what I think of my work as an activist should look like and what it actually looks like. Some weeks I'm busy and I'm all my teachers and say, hey, I can't be in class today. I have to go to the hearing or I have to present at this conference for my bill. And then other weeks it's dead silent, and I'm all I'm doing is sending follow-up emails to make sure that my sponsors for the bill back to me. And I'm freaking out because I'm thinking, not replying to me this week,
Right.
not going to be sponsoring the bill. There's I'm lucky to have a really amazing board of directors. We're I think it's all my engagement director and my PR director lives in Michigan. My finance and marketing director in Georgia, and the region director who runs the chapter program is in North Carolina. And
Mm-hmm.
there's the best people I've ever met. Like I love working with them, and and I've never actually had an issue with my board of directors. They all they're always like putting 110% like ethic into everything.
Yeah.
We have had some inactivity in the like in the departments and stuff, or people who are passive to college application. That's always a little bit disheartening to see. To be honest, we always ask to resign. We figured out we would rather have a smaller effective team than a larger team that's passionate about the work we do. We have team norms and an inactive, and in each hire, or if someone joins, we pretty much say, this is what we're expecting and this is what we really want to see. If you're not passionate about that work, like the work that we're doing, and you're to not really uphold our values, and you are not, oh, how activism is intersectional. So even though we're a sexual violence organization, we're not also in favor of racial equity and LGBT equality. And
Right.
we also encourage them to leave because we do overlaps with systemic justice and LGBT equality.
Yeah.
And so it does get a little bit sometimes because obviously we're all teachers, and so
Yeah.
I never expected to have to be like functioning in the HR department as a 16.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think it goes pretty well.
Yeah, I think that's great. I think it's really important to take the initiative on your team building or group building. You need to have people who are active all the time. But yeah, like you said, I think it's really hard for activists right now to kind of feel like they're doing a lot of work or feel like they're being active. But I think it's just important to recognize the work that you are doing and then just know that it's okay to like take a break and know that it's okay to like not do nothing for a week or so. I've definitely had my weeks with like personally with Yap, like there's some weeks where I'm literally like MIA. I'm not like doing anything, and then I'm like, oh, like I feel bad I'm not doing anything. But then like the next week I have something to do and I'm fully engaged and stuff like that. So I think it's yeah, I can relate with you there. Having a balanced school and everything like that, and not feeling like you're doing enough. But I think we're all just adapting and doing the best that we can and stuff. So yeah. So speaking of Yap, I know that we have kind of partnered with you, and we've been like partners. And I just want to ask you to kind of share how YAP has helped you and how YAP has kind of um, helped with any work that Youth Against Sexual Violence has been doing.
I originally partnered with YAP back in about, I want to say 2019, and it was right before YASV became a nonprofit, and it was back to a high school coalition that didn't work out. But YAP definitely encouraged me to take those first few steps to like get activated, um, as well as providing emotional support. I talk with Anna a lot,
Mm,
um,
yeah.
like weeks and stuff, how I'm doing and what YASV is up to, movies and stuff. And it's really nice to like have other people in the know who understand how stressful it is, how frustrating it can be times, and kind of understand the work that we're doing.
Right.
Friends in real life, even though they're super supportive and definitely like my number one support group, they don't, they're not super plugged in with the stuff and what
Yeah.
like do as I am, which is totally fine. But it's nice to talk with people who are, and the
Yeah.
network is really nice. I'm in the Slack chat, and it's really cool to see what other people around the country are doing all the time.
Yeah. Yeah. I think we're kind of just always there as a resource, there as a support system. I think it's really nice that you look to kind of talk to you look to YAP as like oh, people I can talk to who are also activists and stuff like that. And that's kind of how I see them as well. And we always partner with each other. We share each other's Instagram stories, stuff like that. It's just a great partnership. Yeah. Um, so I guess as we finish off this interview, I want to ask, what's looking bright in the future? What are some future plans for YASIV and stuff?
I'm really excited for the season as I am nervous for it.
Mm,
Um, we really difficult to overview the politics in all of the states that we're working on legislation in and how different the law is. But our chapter presidents are also high school students from a year ago if they thought that they would be pushing a key piece of legislation with their state senate, they wouldn't have expected it. And so it's awesome to see the enthusiasm of everyone in my team. I am really, really looking forward to police reform bill this
yeah.
spring. I am really hoping it gets passed, and if it's not passed 100%, I'm hoping that parts of it go through. It's been my baby for about the past 8 months,
Mm,
and working with the representatives in my state has been incredible, and they're definitely like the number one supporters, and they've helped me on
yeah.
topics outside of legislation, like in education and fundraising. They've been really helpful. I'm also really excited for the education reform initiative we've got coming up. It's just now taking place, and it's supposed to go like really into effect over the winter after
Okay.
a trained and stuff. Nevada and Minnesota took the start on it, and it's been in effect since about 6 months ago for them. But I personally got my own school district on board after 3 years of pushback from them. I,
Yeah.
I went through a month-long process of appealing to my school board and finally got them on board. And so that is a personal victory for me, and I'm looking forward to it because that's why I got involved in this work. Um, I think in a year or two's time, even though it's pretty far off, we're looking to lobby nationally for some kind of work. There haven't really been any plans hammered out besides talking with like some representatives and stuff in the Senate and House and seeing what could be worked on and what would be have the least amount of pushback, especially with how you know iffy politics are amidst COVID
Yeah.
and budget deficit. But I'm really excited to continue like for policy change as that's my number one passion.
Yeah. I think it's so great. The police reform bill is such a big thing that you've been working on, and it sounds very like detailed and like in depth and stuff like that. So I hope for the best with that. And like you said, if it doesn't work out, hopefully some parts of it, and if not, then you just keep working towards it. That's kind of what you do as an activist. And yeah, I'm excited to see your group grow as well. And we're always here to help you with that as well. Um, so yeah, I think we can end off our interview here. It was very nice talking to you. I hope everyone checks out your page. What's your page on? What are your like social media handles and stuff?
Same one as the nat.yasiv,
Mm-hmm.
and our website is also on our Instagram, and I
Right.
think Twitter is just nat_yasiv.
Okay, yeah. So people can check that out. Check out their campaigns, donate, stuff like that. But yeah, it was very nice talking to you, and I'm very excited for your work.
Thank you so much. It was great meeting you as well. Thanks so much for having me.
Yeah, no problem. Have a good day.
Have a great day.